It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here's WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today are Liz Buxton. She's the executive director of the South River Federation, actually new to her job somewhat, and Jesse Iliff, our South Riverkeeper. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, Liz, sort of new to the job. When did you start?
I started January 2nd of this year.
Not so new. So you're used
5
to our
months.
South River.
Yes.
And you came from, you're a native of Tidewater, Virginia. I used to live in Yorktown. I love it down there.
Oh, you did? That is a wonderful place.
I was stationed there. You have more than 15 years of experience leading conservation, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies. This is off the bio on your website at South River Federation. You have been the executive director of Scenic Maryland Environmental Trust, and Valleys Planning Council in Baltimore County. Also served as cultural resource specialist with the Maryland State Highway Administration, and development and communication director at Preservation Maryland. A graduate of the College of Charleston, which is a really cool college. My kid's looking at it.
It's a wonderful place to go to school, and it was hard to leave, but I did want to come back to the Chesapeake Bay region where I grew up.
Are you happy here on the South River?
I love it. It's just like being at home. I grew up on the James and the Rappahannock Rivers down in Tidewater,
Beautiful
Virginia,
rivers.
and
the Ghost Fleet on the James River.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful to be here, and water is in my blood, and I love that we're working to protect the watershed here in the South River watershed area, and I'm thrilled to be here in this position.
And you got a pretty good riverkeeper there next to you.
Oh yeah, Jesse's awesome.
Fun fact, saying that the river is in, the bay is in the blood, the South River's average salinity is 9 parts per thousand, which is also the average salinity of blood.
Very cool. And full disclosure, I met Liz recently with a paddle up Gingerville Creek, which was very cool, and South River Federation is good with doing these events. Make sure to follow South River Federation on Facebook and on Twitter. The website address is
southriverfederation.net.
All right, so let's go back over the report card for 2017, Jesse.
Sure. This year, our report card was a B. It was down 1% from 2016. We saw improvements with the bacteria levels in the river and average water clarity. The other water quality parameters all went down, but not too precipitously, and temperature was about the same in 2017 as it was in 2016. So it's good to see that the swimmability of the river seems to be coming up. It was 90% of the time overall that it was safe to swim. But we do need to keep an eye on dissolved oxygen especially, and try to figure out reasons why that has gone down, because fish and crabs need dissolved oxygen to breathe and live.
Any plan to add any oysters, or have you been already adding oysters? I keep seeing photos of you on Facebook adding oysters.
Yeah, we have. We are working with a number of partners as part of the Chesapeake Oyster Alliance, and the overarching goal of that alliance is to plant 10 billion with a B oysters in the Chesapeake Bay by 2025, which marks the end point of the total maximum daily load, the pollution diet. So we are working with a number of other partners, like I said, and we're going to continue our Marylanders Grows Oysters program, hoping to expand that in the coming years, and also large-scale spat-on shell planting at our sanctuary reef in Glebe Bay with our partners, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation.
And how do oysters relate to that oxygen level?
Well, the oysters help oxygen because they filter algae out of the water, and the oxygen levels get depleted when there's an overabundance of algae that bloom in nutrient-rich conditions, and then when they die, the bacteria that decompose them use up the oxygen in the water column that would otherwise be used by the animals that we know and love. And so by getting the algae before they die and eating them, the oysters prevent that sort of what is called eutrophication in the water.
And do you need the help of any of the private landowners up and down the South River, or the marina owners to?
Well, absolutely. The more riparian waterfront owners that we can get on board with Marylanders Grows Oysters program, the better. Every oyster in the cages that these growers hang from their piers helps filter the water, but it's not only about the actual substantive effect of the oysters filtering monitoring water, it's also a great outreach and education tool to for people to go down to the pier and pull up those cages and watch the oysters grow over the course of a 9 or 10 month period. Especially if you have young children, they love to see all the fish and little crabs that fall out of the oyster cages, and it's a really interesting experience.
So if you're listening, landowners, marina managers, property owners, they need your help, where can people reach you?
You can reach me by email, Jesse, Jesse, at southriverfederation.net, or just call the office. That's 410-224-3802, and I'll line you up with some oyster cages.
Perfect. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on the 1430 Connection. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm in the studio today with Liz Buxton and Jesse Iliff. Liz is the executive director of the South River Federation. Jesse is our South Riverkeeper who's been doing this for a few years now. How many years?
It'll be 3 years in October. Jesse's
background, he's an attorney. You tell everybody.
I am an attorney. I got my law degree from University of Maryland, where I got a certificate of concentration in environmental law. It's where I first became familiarized with the waterkeeper movement. I represented the former Potomac Riverkeeper in University of Maryland's environmental law clinic, which was an outstanding experience. We did a lot of litigation fighting about coal ash disposal and coal burning power plants. And after that, I practiced litigation for 5 years, and then the opening at the South River Federation came up on my radar, and I was excited to not have to commute to Silver Spring every day and wear a suit and tie quite as often and get out on the boat. And so I applied, got it, and here I am.
And thankfully you are here looking out for our South River. And one of the things that I would think that law degree comes in handy with is navigating our legislative session every year.
Yeah, I really enjoy the policy side of my job, and this past session was no exception. I worked on 4 bills this past session. Unfortunately, none of them passed. The bills that I worked on were a priority for a number of environmental groups, and I think the broad consensus amongst our coalition is that this was a pretty tough year for the environment. I was really hoping that we would be able to make improvements to the Forest Conservation Act and preserve more of our priority forests from development across the state. And also,
I'm going to just stop you there for 1 second. We just saw a reason why this is so important, unfortunately.
Yeah, the events in Ellicott City over the weekend were a product of a number of interconnected causes, but certainly contributing to that is the amount of hard surfaces upstream from Main Street. And if there were some more undeveloped forest land, especially if there were any old growth up there, it would do a whole lot to soak up the water that ultimately caused the Patapsco to flood so dramatically.
All right, so that was one bill. Tell me about the others.
The other was what I view as one of the most straightforward and common sense pieces of legislation that has not gotten passed in the past few years, and that's a ban on expanded polystyrene foam, otherwise known as styrofoam. We have a trash trap in the Crab Creek watershed that catches hundreds of pieces of styrofoam from going into the river every time it rains more than a half an inch or so. And this problem is certainly not unique to the South River. The Anacostia has a big trash problem. It actually has a trash TMDL issued by the federal government. The Patapsco, many of your listeners may be familiar with the trash wheel up in the Inner Harbor, obviously has the same problem there.
Beyond Maryland, it's a global issue.
It is, and some corporations, McDonald's for instance, has committed to phasing styrofoam out of its products by 2020. I believe that the nation of France has outlawed polystyrene foam. So, some folks are picking up on it, and we're hopeful that giving it a go this next coming year will be effective statewide. But
it looks like it's being submitted for at the county level also.
It is. Anne Arundel County is having a vote in the county council on Monday, June 4th, on a bill to prohibit single-use styrofoam. And this is all food packaging stuff. I just want your listeners to be clear. This is not the styrofoam that comes to pad electronics in the mail or packing peanuts or stuff like that. You can still buy a cup of noodles at the grocery store. This is the clamshells and the cups that you get at takeout places.
Right. You're going to go back at it with the next legislative session.
Oh, yeah, we're not giving up on this.
Good. Let's take another short break. When we come back, we're going to discuss some of the events coming up with the South River Federation that they're part of or that they're hosting, and they are some cool events. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm in the studio with Liz Buxton. She's the executive director of the South River Federation, and Jesse Iliff. He's our South Riverkeeper. He didn't have a necessarily altogether too successful legislative session, but he's going to go back at it again. Do you think that the changes to our administration in Washington has come down to affect us at the local level?
It has, I guess, started to affect us, but the unfortunate fact, in my view, is that the effects of some of the changes in the federal government are not going to be felt until the coming years. And I say that because implementation of the total maximum daily load for the Chesapeake Bay rests with the states in the Bay watershed with oversight from EPA. And I think that a lot of the states in the watershed perceive that EPA is not going to be handing down any stiff penalties for failure to meet the goals of the TMDL, especially since the current EPA administrator made a career out of suing to try and stop implementation of the TMDL back in the Obama administration. So I don't see Mr. Pruitt acting very strongly to preserve the Bay and make sure that the TMDL goals are realized. But we won't really know that until we get a little closer down to the wire for the TMDL's completion.
Right. All right, Liz, we have some great events coming up. June 12th is the Green Give Kickoff Party and Father's Day weekend, Sunday. June 17th, the South by West Road River Fest, which both sound cool. Tell me about both events.
Well, first of all, let me just say that South River Federation is a nonprofit organization, so we are thrilled to be participating in the second annual Green Give, which is coming up on June 2nd. It's a one-day event online where folks can contribute to the South River Federation, and we really encourage our folks to go to our website and look into making a contribution to support our operations.
Are there matching donations that day as of yet?
Yes.
Okay.
We do have an anonymous donor who is contributing a matching gift to anything that's given to the South River Federation.
So it's really important, Tuesday, June 12th, to give as much as you can, as little as you can, whatever you can. They can't do the work they're doing without this money. You do get grants, you do get some government funding, but it's not enough.
Right. We do rely on private contributions. As you said, Donna, the grants do not cover our operations, and we've been around for 20 years and we've been very successful, and so to continue our efforts, we do need those contributions coming in.
All right. And then the Father's Day Fun, which does sound like fun, and this is an event with the Road and West Riverkeeper, Jeff Holland. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so we're really excited to partner with the West Road Riverkeeper, and this event will be our first splash event. We are thankful to have a contribution from Toyota to underwrite this event.
Wow, nice.
And I think that this will be a day of fun at Mayo Beach, June 17th. We're encouraging folks to bring their dad out and paddle. We're going to have kayaks, stand-up paddleboard, some windsurfing demonstrations, as well as other fun activities for the whole family.
Okay, you're not going to have tandem kayaks, are you?
No tandem kayaks.
You're welcome to bring a tandem kayak.
No,
of course.
No, thank you. It is the worst decision in mothering that I've ever made. And if you do a tandem kayak, don't do it with anybody related to you. Do it with a stranger. That way you can't fight too much. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm also hosting Saturday morning paddles throughout the summer and fall. So, Donna, we were happy to have you on the last paddle on Gingerville Creek. And yes, tandems are not recommended for family members.
I honestly, I had so much fun, and I'll look back on it with fond memories. Both my daughter and I will, because of the fighting all the way up Gingerville Creek and back. But Church Creek, I can't wait to see that. And I do have to say, I was also out at the releasing of the turtles at the Annapolis Harbor Center, but I took your tour, the South River Federation's tour, back behind the Annapolis Harbor Center, connecting through to the Home Depot shopping center. I had no idea it was that big, or the work that you did, and it's amazing.
That stream was called the Impossible Stream by some funders and some regulators who thought that it was too far gone to be restored. And with help from our partners on that project, we managed to really improve the ecosystem back there. And it was a tandem effort that involved a lot of stream cleanup in advance, and then restoring the stream bed so that it integrated the floodplain. And now you go back there and you'll see more frogs and birds and
Turtles.
bugs and turtles than you can shake a stick at.
And
So
a
we're really
snake or
proud.
two. We did see a snake also.
Well, that's a wonderful example of the partnerships that the South River Federation is able to pull together. We had the DNR, the Chesapeake Bay Trust, and the Lerner Enterprises as a partner there.
The county's watershed protection and
Right, of
restoration
course.
program also. Yeah, it takes a village to restore a stream, they say.
Right. And speaking of which, you do often use volunteers with these projects or going forward. I know that they mentioned that you'll do a fish survey, maybe, but you do need volunteers.
Absolutely. Jesse, you want to talk about the monitoring program?
Yeah, we need volunteers for specific activities like the stream cleanups back behind Harbor Center, but also just on an ongoing basis. We maintain several monitoring programs, both the tidal monitoring program, where I'm out on the boat getting 21 places on the river, which I'll be doing later today. We have Operation Clearwater, which is where we go sample water at swimming beaches to assess their bacteria levels and their suitability for swimming. We have non-tidal monitoring throughout the watershed, and we also have a restoration research grant in Church Creek that requires a lot of upkeep and work. So anytime somebody wants to get out and see a part of the river they've never seen before, they can volunteer with us and we'll show them something new.
And it's really cool work. I mean, it's a great way to learn your own river, your own watershed. I just, I've been up the South River to the headwaters of the South River with you. I had no idea. It was cool. It's just really cool.
It really is. We're here in a very suburban and urban setting, but we do have a beautiful natural resource that has a number of secluded little natural areas that you'd never know until you really get out and explore.
Oh, speaking of Gingerville Creek, I did find something of interest, and I never knew this before. Gingerville has been home to several mysterious oil slicks. The Federation investigated numerous reports this past year, but locating sources was difficult. People need to keep their eyes and ears open, and noses, and
Yes.
to let you know what they see.
Yes, and we're always available either online or by phone, and we can make sure that we transmit any sort of strange information or any oil slick that might be seen or anything like that to the appropriate authorities. And in this case, we've had great responses from the Department of Natural Resources and the Coast Guard. But when you have as many marinas as you do around Gingerville Creek, sooner or later somebody's sump pump on a boat is going to fail and that boat will sink. And when that happens, oil comes out.
You still using the Water Reporter app?
We do. We use Water Reporter, and we encourage anyone who's listening to download the app. It's free from the App Store or Google Play, and it will crowdsource information about the river that we can then use to better preserve and protect it.
I love it. So easy to use. Thank you both for being here today. Again, Tuesday, June 12th, Green Give Kickoff Party, and on Father's Day, Sunday, June 17th, the South by West Road River Fest. Website again?
SouthRiverFederation.net, and that kickoff party is at St. Luke's Episcopal Church starting at 5:30 on the 12th. So
Perfect.
come on out.
This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.